It's only October, but I have found my favorite product of the year, and that's the Apex Performance through shaft ram. These are 37s, aired down to 5 PSI. I'm up against that boulder, and watch this. One-handed, turn right into that. I mean, if you played in the rocks with low tire pressure, you know how hard it is to steer with that factory steering setup. And we don't even have the Apex boost kit in. That is just the through shaft ram by itself. So here we go, let's get it up onto these rocks, and here we go. Again, one-handed steering. Wow. I'm literally steering us off this rock just by walking the steering wheel back and forth. That is impressive. This is like power steering on steroids. Oh, it's moving the whole nose of the Jeep over. It's walking me off the rock. Wow, that's crazy. Oof. And boy, I just clipped that root and it gave us a big shake. And normally, I mean, even with the steering stabilizer, you get a pretty good jolt. And this thing does a good job of acting as your steering stabilizer and kind of absorbing that force. And I keep wanting to just drive with one hand just to show you how really easy it is. Okay, this is a cool little rutted out section. We've got highs and lows, driver to passenger side, and this could definitely bind up the steering a little bit. And I'm gonna try to do this all one-handed. This is just simple. Oh yeah. Yeah, again, not wanting to just gush over a product. This is really cool. And this Willis is working really good. I am all into the inner fender liners in the rear. We're gonna have to do something with those. Wow. Yeah. Okay, this is really cool. I mean, come on, Reagan, you and I get to test a lot of neat stuff. But I'm telling you, this one I'm really impressed with. It really works well. I just can't even imagine having a JL or a JT on 37s and not have one of these in there. I really can't wait till we get that boost kit installed. Now that you've seen it in action and how well it works, let's get back to the studio and show you how it's installed. Now, a couple things we gotta say about Apex Performance is that their packaging is very nice. All the parts are bagged, tagged, and boxed according to their sub-assemblies. And their instructions, they're some of the nicest in the industry. And they can make a complicated job like this seem not so big. Now, before we get started on the big stuff, this is a very important step. So we want to make sure that we use a ratchet strap, and we're just going to hook it around the steering wheel and then down to the brake pedal. And we don't need to get it tight. We're just going to snug it up a little bit. We want to make sure that steering wheel does not move. We're going to protect that clock spring. And that's what makes the Grimm inner fender so nice. A few screws and it makes it really easy to get at stuff. First thing we want to do is get this factory steering stabilizer out of the way. Axle end takes 13mm sockets. Then disconnecting the tie rod and drag link from the driver's side. Then disconnect the steering shaft and the power steering fluid lines at the steering box. And we use some little rubber caps we had in the toolbox to help protect those line ends. Then it was time to remove the steering box. All right, then we've got these 4 bolts here, and depending on what box you have, they may have different lengths on them. So just make sure you remember which bolt comes out of which hole. And now comes the sketchy bit, porting that steering box. And I've ported a number of boxes over the years. Saginaw boxes, Toyota boxes, even a Mitsubishi box. But drilling into a new box from a 2025 JL is definitely a little bit more of a nail biter. But I gotta say that Apex makes it easy. First off, clean that box nicely, and then assemble the Apex porting bracket. Then drain all the fluid from the steering box, and you're going to do that by turning that input shaft back and forth, lock to lock, until all the fluid's out. Then install the Apex 90-degree bracket, and you're going to slide that right into the porting vise. Then install the block-off plug in the lower port and the Apex quick coupler into the upper hole. Then mark the port positions and center punch. Then using a 1/4-inch drill bit, start drilling down, but only go about 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 deep. Don't drill all the way through. Now, a pro tip is to add a dab of grease to the drilling position, and that's going to help catch and retain the metal chips. Now flip your box upside down. Then we want to cut a piece of hose that goes over the drill bit, and you want to leave 1/2 of an inch sticking out. And you're going to use that hose as a bottoming guide. Now you can drill up and through the housing, and that hose is going to help keep you from going too deep. Then swap out to the bigger 21/64 inch drill bit and repeat that drilling, enlarging the hole. Chamfer the hole, and then tap with an 1/8 inch NPT tap, checking the depth with the fitting often. You want to get that fitting into where you're about 3/4 of the thread engaged. Once you've got that tapped out deep enough, You're going to attach an airline to the quick coupler and blow out any contaminants. Now the oil mist is real nasty, so be careful to contain it. Then wrap the first fitting with Teflon tape and screw it in. Then you're going to switch over to the Apex 45-degree bracket and mount that steering box in the vise with the input shaft pointing up. Then you're going to repeat the drilling, the tapping, and the blowout process. All right, we've got our hydraulic fittings in. We put our plugs back in. Let's get this box back in the Jeep. Don't forget the Loctite on the bolts, and you're going to torque them to 99 foot-pounds. Then reinstall all your steering components. Install the Apex axle mounting bracket in the order according to their instructions. Now, Apex calls for red Loctite on all the hardware. Okay, we got one carriage bolt. We got two carriage bolts. Then we got a spacer on the bottom. And that's gonna go right in those two guys. Now we can put that up. Then we have two spacers. Okay, so we got these little snap rings, and we want to snap it around right there. Throw a little bit of clean engine oil on the O-rings. Now it's time to insert the hoses into the ram, and you want to make sure that you properly seat the circlips. Now a little bit of oil on those O-rings will go a long way to making it easier. Install the ram into the Apex mounting brackets and torque those to spec. Then it's time to start routing the hoses. Now this isn't a complicated process. Just take your time, step by step, according to those Apex instructions. Now you will need to open up a hole on the frame rail and install a riv net, and that's going to be for the upper hose mount. And this is one of those places a good professional riv nut installation tool is handy. So check your local tool rental place or grab one off the Mighty A website. Now it's very crucial to double check your hose routing and make sure that you connect the hoses to the proper ports on the steering box. Go over all your hardware to double check that they're tight and they're torqued to spec. Now for bleeding the system, you want to fill the steering reservoir. We're using that Pentosin CHF11. And you need to get somebody to start turning that steering wheel back and forth while you're watching for air bubbles to come up and that fluid level to drop. And you're going to continue adding fluid and steering left and right until the system stops taking extra fluid. Then start the engine and turn the steering wheel only one turn right and then one turn left. And you're going to do that 4 to 5 times. And then you can increase the turning lock to lock for another 10 cycles. Now you never want to let that reservoir run dry during this process. And you want to check the system for leaks often. Now I wanted to jump in here really quick to talk about this kit. Now we've had this on the Juice Willis for about 2 weeks now. And we've had it out on the street and had it out on the trail twice. And it's been very impressive. It works very well and it's noticeable both on road and off. But there are a few caveats I want to go over. Now, number one and most important is we installed this kit backwards. With 37s, we really should have installed that boost kit and cooler, then installed the Ram kit. But we did this on purpose. We really wanted to test this Ram kit out and see what it would do with 37s. And well, it surprised us. It did a lot better than we thought. Now we do have a boost kit and we're going to be installing it in the next couple weeks, and then we'll get to see how well it works together as a package. Now Apex is telling us that you can run this with 35s and down with the factory pump, no problem. With those bigger tires, you want to run with that boost kit and that cooler, and that's for more pressure for the Ram and to help keep those fluid temperatures a lot more manageable. Now number two is that Ram sits low, so it could be prone to damage. And we did scratch ours. But it sits low because of the perfect geometry. I mean, that's right in line with the tie rod and is pushing right on the knuckle. I mean, they could not have selected a better place to put that Ram for geometry. The compromise is, well, having the Ram where it's at. So I asked Apex Performance, are they gonna produce a skid plate assembly for this? And the answer was no, not at this time. And that's because they're trying to work with their kit to make sure it's gonna fit with all the different aftermarket components that are out there. Now, speaking of different components and different applications, this TSR kit as it is right now is designed to work with the factory axle, the factory tie rod assembly, and the factory steering knuckle. If you've replaced any of those parts with aftermarket, well, you may have to do some mods to make this kit fit. Now, Apex does have a high mount kit available, and it's gonna sit up above the tie rod assembly, kind of similar to those through shaft Ram steering stabilizers. But depending on the aftermarket parts you have, you may have to tweak it a bit to fit. Enough of the nitty gritty, let's get back to some off-road action. Okay, final thoughts on the Apex Performance through shaft Ram kit. Well, that's a 37, it's at 5 PSI. Look how pinched that tire is. And I'm steering with one hand, that easy. This is a game changer for any JL or JT. And we don't even have the boost kit in yet. I mean, we did this backwards. We should have put the boost kit in first. But we wanted to see how good this was without that extra pressure. So that'll be coming next. Now you can get a TSR kit and a boost kit for your JL or JT. Hit those links below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.